So hey, trading plants every day. George Gold coming at you from the S.T.E.M lab this morning. Getting ready for probation. Got a little while time to burn here. So my last few videos that I posted on through my Facebook model and on YouTube and things like that, it's a wild ride. Again, you're going to look at physics, you're going to look at psychology, and it's going to be like the laws of motion. Very hard to pull them apart, but at the same time, you're going to start running to each other and blowing up the universe in every way against that. And specifically, not that any one of those is right, but what I try to depict in my own model is trying to describe what I believe that form combining all of those things into a given state should look like for you. And again, I'm not always the best. Maybe you can do better from your position and what have you. But I found one on the internet. I had to I'll give you a breakdown of gravity, electromagnetism, and quantum mechanics, all in one shot. And he had this one thing, and one of his big concepts on it was this is all one field. Well, for me, a lot of this becomes that concept of, as a general, you're going to need to know how to make a law. And in your nation, we know laws are very pliable to this state. Just like when you look at any one given field of a thing, it's going to have specific numbers for the given case or the given elements that you have into it. The environment, its particles, and all that jive, right? Well, you do have a bit of a problem when you look at something like it's just singularly one field. Especially when you're talking about this in terms of what law is. Let's say law is that element, that hypercubing or hyperring, that state of what an atom can be depicted as, or the state where it's reciprocating between those principles. The way I like to describe this, the directive I use to describe this, the law base of what you're generally going to be looking for other cases to fit into this scenario, this ground, is Sun Tzu's 5-dimensional calculations, or 5 calculations of the great matter of the nation. General, ground, law, haven, way. The problem you'll have with that, like you'll see in that nature of that conversation, of this element, its particles, its pieces, is if you understand it through basis of a law, then ground and everything on this field is law. You can't change those aspects. We know that not to be true because it's in general, or who's in charge of those, how you perceive those bases, to the havens. Fairly close about a thing. What can it do as the spectrum change from season to season, or thermodynamics, temperature changes, or how much radiation is put onto that aspect, and ways about getting to the same place in the same time. I know the straightest distance is point A to point B. This is by law of what we understand it, but sometimes that ground says there's a minefield down there, and I could work that out about some of the havens and ways and mine detectors and things like that, or simply walk around at the same time, or to take the same time, maybe even faster. Again, when you look at them singularly as if they're one field, it's too complex. But if you break it down into too many fields, it's too complex. For each, it needs a given directive, a given system to help you understand that. But in the same quantum nature of the universe, there are still too many states under that concept to be anything less than socially liberal correct. That I'm very liberal with the system, that I take many different numbers or different variations of those things. In what given time I can generalize for this. I can't just focus on this and say I can win that war by traversing this minefield. This weighing a resistance of any given minefield that can be simultaneously paralleled to. However, that's exactly what you'll need to do. So the conversation goes, how do you become a G? How do you become a general? How do you become something that can change those standards without breaking the law? without breaking the quantum nature of the universe. And this is a skill that's developed in getting good with forms, getting good with analyzation, getting good with this process, hopefully faster, or potentially at a stack dimension 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, A, B, with some transposition mathematics that says A, B, B, A is the same thing in a G group, but yet there's a lot of mathematics that happens between A to B to geometrically change that form and how we perceive them as two different things, but basically three. It's a machine, Tesla's kind of a thing. It's, without a better way of saying it, what I've invented for this system. It's the directive I use, and I use it very frequently in erodes and a reciprocating group of, an algebraic reciprocating group of terms. Yeah, erodes is an abruptly long sequence of reciprocating terms, algebraically. AB or AX plus BX equals CZ or CX, depending on which model you go, but combinatically, look at this like the quantum machine. You know, it can go both ways. It can also travel individually, but you still have 0 and you still have 1. It's very hard when you use this mathematical philosophy to be able to see anything more than that given, but lots of patterns and can be created from that between 0 and 1. 1 and 0, and the combination of 1 to 0, 1 to 0, 1, 0, and every pattern, if you go to physically map that out and then say this is a new group because 0 and 1 can be the same thing, and it just expands infinitely.
This category is dedicated to people that can take some pain. Cold hard as nails. Take a look. I got this, man. I can do anything. Let's do it in front of my castle. Ouch. Oh.
That means it's a damn good time to be doing mathematics. That's what it means. B and G.
Here I go.
So a lot of that is, again, just what I describe that to be. And I don't care. When the conversation comes up, I'm a general. I don't care if you're Muslim, Christian, Scientology, physics, psychology. I'll make it fit. I'll make it work. You know, I can figure out that 0, 1, it's all the same jive to me at the end of the day. We're going to be dealing with the ground. We're going to be dealing with calculating this given scenario between A to B in a straight line, down the range, to specifically what will 10 ring, what everybody agrees with is the best target, best out of the average or singular shot. That's going to determine what that is. AX is a single page, AX is a combination of two pages, AX, AB, right. And how we're breaking this down. So I wanted to specify that specifically because at some point in time in the course of my events, you're going to have to get into law. General ground law, Haven ways about an issue, calculation, little walled systems that don't seem so permeable, but there's no walled fortress that can't truly be done, even with one person, whether it be an assassin, an army, understanding that you need to do corn to get that army, and that's how you truly do that. They're all a form. They're all formations. They're all calculations. Any other Sun Tzu's I can drop in here in terms of their chapters or base quotes or military Joint Chiefs of Staff dictionary of term systems, which we can use into describing how this great matter, not necessarily nation, physics is a nation, psychology is a nation, and they still are at war with each other because, one, we don't understand them through that term, and when you singleize them to a single field, you wind up burning a lot of statues. You wind up just destroying them and saying, well, a lot of their calculations were wrong, and if I don't do that with the proper directive, I could say to a degree on that function, AB, spectrum jive, that it's absolutely correct. We can still use those tools. We can still use those examples, but we have to understand them with an X calculation with them specifically for these functions. The time it may have been like Sun Tzu, the calligraphy needed for the education base, or any other form, which you know to be true that could win a weighing a resistance or a war. We don't always need troops or foundations or politics of giving standards on CNN or the idea here is the hackers, Russia. Oh boy, Troy, it's about to get crazy. The reality behind the number is it's not their fault. Look, it's not. That doesn't matter what information they bring up. That was always our fault. And in general, need to know how to take responsibility for these actions, how to write directives, how to say this specifically to their people. Because if it was really a problem, then they've only done me a benefit as my enemy. They've improved my nation by challenging it the way they do, and I can't disrespect that by just blowing you up.
If I had lost my case, then I wouldn't be responsible for paying the money back.
Open-ended, positive, negative, blue, red.
They killed me and they helped me out. They gave me my life back.
See how much money you can get before your case settles. Call Oasis Financial, because life moves faster than your case. 1-800
If you had a circumstance where, instead of saying a lot of other things, but by actually bringing up those calculations, we have a chance to do it. If you watch CNN to do it, every one of them has a chance to be an opportunity by saying, well, I'm going to find something else today to talk about instead of hackers, and I bet you it's going to be one of those problems at some fundamental level of this process. Am I not correct? If you try to challenge that directly with all the bureaucracy and bullshit that follows into this, obviously we're going to have some problems. So we need to make more forms, more examples that speak many different languages to cover the same detailed information. And at some point in time, we're going to cover it to the point where eventually it dissolves and evaporates into the background and you have no longer that problem. Let's face it, if we as a country really brought out all our problems in a format, it would create a lot of jobs. It would dissolve any problems we have with other nations. I know it may seem like a problem, like that would leave us open for attack, but who would attack this country knowingly that they would have to walk in here and solve all those problems with no clean directive to be able to solve as a group all of them in one shot like that, unless somebody with the free thinking ability could, in one field, process Newtonianly the correct order to do so, which is a monumental challenge. And it's going to take more than one person. It's going to take many people just because of time aspects to be able to break all that down sensibly with the new order of how that's supposed to be done and walk through the process. You need analysts to go out because I got to just signing papers all day. This is all I did. Read, sign, read, sign. I would never have time to leave the office as a general. But that's why generals don't fight this war. It's why presidents don't fight this war. On the other side of that coin, if we did, we would have a lot more resources. In some cases, that would be the valued model that I would choose to put into initiation here. I will bitch slap you. We'll just smash it out. Whoever wins, wins, and it's yours when you're done. But then the end of the day, you're still going to have the same problems. You can't escape gravity here. You build a system, that system's going to create that gravity. If you don't have that system in there, you could say it's just dark matter and therefore it doesn't exist. But we know in physics, a lot of these calculations are going to things that we truly don't fully understand. And in psychology, the brain can work on things that we don't understand. Potentially yet. On actions, I don't fully know the calculations of why I do what I do, but I know it's going to probably hurt if I just walk down that road. I don't know why, I just don't do it. That's why I think that way. But when you do this for a group of people that listen to your directives, listen to your orders, how you define an inch, you take yourself out of that category of thinking. Here in America, constitutionally obligated to understand, no matter what the issue, it's by case. Not everything is generalized to be a given time sentence against those systems. I mean, there's a lot of things that by constitutional values can be easily worked out. But given circumstances to those in the social group of how, like any psychologist would say, giraffe, what giraffe's thinking, all giraffes cross this average. So this gets very hard when you deal with peoples and groups of peoples. Specifically because even in a group of people, whether Russian, Australian, a Jewish or a subfaction of that, even in one given generalized group, somebody likes pizza, somebody likes pineapple. I can't make that differential in this system of velocities and accelerations mathematically to determine acceleration. A equals the differential of time over the differential of velocity. I think that's the one that one is. So, catch you on the next one.